Hello, everybody. This is diANtinatalist, and the topic of this conversation is the fact that many antinatalist males are not vasectomized, nor do they use adequate protection. And I'm going to go back a couple of years ago. And there was a strong person on Facebook groups. I think he's faded away. He was a prominent person, but anyway, he was not American. That's all I'll say. Now, he had a son. And when his wife got pregnant, he told her that he strongly was not in favor of having a child, and that he wanted her to have an abortion. And they're from a country where it would just be unheard of. Abortions were available, but she wanted the baby, and he took no precautions whatsoever. And we even spoke online on some kind of Skype or something a couple of years ago, and he was just at wit's end, and he just wanted to, leave this world and take his son with him because of the tragedy that befell him when he was born. And, he's a normal child, but, life deals out pain and hunger and suffering and loneliness and longing. And so even babies suffer greatly, and they fall, and they struggle to learn how to walk and how to talk and how to please their parents, and they get rejection, that sort of thing. But so anyway, he was one of the first antinatalists that was outspoken about birth control and such, but yet he did not take it upon himself to use birth control, and he found himself as a father. Repeatedly, I have seen online that men think it is the woman's duty. And I have news for you guys. Women have been taking care of birth control for decades. Many decades. You just haven't been a part of it. And now, when you are asked to be responsible or to share the responsibility or even get a vasectomy, you balk and you shudder, and it makes you squirm. So everybody knows that men will say sex just doesn't feel the same with a condom. You can keep on masturbating, keep on wanking. Not wearing a condom can harm a woman in many, many ways. She can have superficial tears. She can get a bladder infection. She can be infected with the HPV virus, because you probably don't know your sexual health, and HPV virus can result in cervical cancer for women. Cervical cancer requires an operation, possibly a removal of an organ, and it can result in death. The other day was probably the biggest insult ever. And I heard a guy, I believe he's American actually, he said that he felt that birth control was solely a woman's responsibility. A lot of men feel that way, even though it's their orgasm, their sperm, that ignites the pregnancy and impregnates. So this particular fellow said he was not going to get a vasectomy because he didn't want any knives or needles near his private parts. Now, if a woman were to get pregnant, there are more than knives and needles near her private parts. There's an internal scraping of her uterus. There is hormonal variations for weeks to come because she's not just unpregnant once she has an abortion. The hormones remain for weeks. There's many complications with abortion. She could have her uterus perforated. She could actually die. Now, with just a simple pregnancy, there are complications with a pregnancy, even before it's possibly terminated. And that is, she could have a miscarriage and she could bleed. She could require medical attention or even an operation. She could have an ectopic pregnancy, which is very, very serious and life-threatening. Pregnancy is extremely complicated, and it is responsible for many deaths in America per year. I had the number in my head, and I've made articles on this before, but I don't even want to take a guess at it right now, but I think it was in the hundreds of deaths per year from complications of pregnancy. Pregnancy is not safe. Now, abortions are safer than pregnancy, but a pregnancy endangers a woman's life. It does not, the sex does not endanger a man's life. It endangers women's. Fertile men can harm women through sex in various ways. This particular gentleman said before he is with a woman, he has to have some assurance that she is on birth control. And he said he even wanted to see a pill pack in her purse. As everybody knows, that doesn't mean that the pill pack is has not expired. It doesn't mean that she's taking it. It doesn't mean that it's effective. She could be on antibiotics, rendering the pill ineffective. She could forget a pill. She could forget the pill the same time per day. She could accidentally skip a pill. The pill is a lot of responsibility for a woman to take when that responsibility is not shared. So this fellow, he said that he would even pay for his girlfriend to get on birth control or get a patch or get an implant or get an IUD. Now, here is the complication with that. With IUDs, there are an array of symptoms, array of side effects. Bad cramping, bleeding, perforations of body parts, a need for operation, a need for removal, Hormonal pills include a plethora of side effects and risks, including strokes, cancer, and death. The implant, when it's implanted, it can be painful, tender, itchy, and because it is a hormone, it can also cause all the hormonal symptoms that I've listed before. If you ever see a woman's birth control pack, ask to see the list of contradictions, side effects, and risks. The paper is about 2 feet long, and any woman will tell you she's had many side effects, from preventing pregnancy from fertile men that she has sex with. It's a pretty heavy cost for a woman to have intercourse with a fellow. Now, this particular gentleman was extremely arrogant, and I know that all men don't feel this way, but I do know that most men, especially most antinatalists, feel that they should be exempt from taking birth control precautions, and that just leave it to the woman. It's so misogynistic. It's so careless and thoughtless, and there's no empathy with that thought and with those feelings. So this particular fellow on a group, he was very candid about what he felt, and he said he didn't want any risks associated with a vasectomy. And he said, "I am selfish in that respect, and I want women to take all the responsibility for birth control." I think this guy is probably going to be a father eventually, maybe sooner than later. And I guess he has used a pull-out method, but he's mentioned that he doesn't like condoms. Now, there's a saying, it says, it just doesn't feel the same with a condom. Now, there's another saying, it just doesn't feel the same with a vasectomy, because it's pinpointing men's lack of responsibility and lack of accountability for providing fertile sperm that impregnates women. This particular fellow, he doesn't fit the demographics of those who get vasectomies. You can look up the demographics of American men who do get vasectomies, and he's not one of them. So, and he's relatively young. I think he's under 30. But for you antinatalist men out there, it is your duty to get sterilized. Bite the bullet and find a urologist. If you are sexually active with women and you are an antinatalist, it is your obligation to practice what you preach. And if you get oopsed, or if you get someone pregnant, you can't say, "Oh, I wish I had gotten sterilized. I wish, if only I had worn a condom. If only I had, pulled out. If only I had made that appointment for the urologist." If only I used better judgment. There's a lot of consequences for you as men for having a child, because you are probably going to be made legally responsible and forced to pay for the child's upbringing. And it may not just be a child. It may be twins or triplets. You have to factor that in. And you also have to factor in the mom who may leave to another state, and you may be challenged to even visit your offspring. So take the path of least resistance, guys. And the path of least resistance is a condom and, lubricant with spermicidal cream, or get a vasectomy if you are sexually active. So that's about all I had to say today, and I find it very disrespectful and hurtful when antinatalists are so adamant about not bringing life into existence, yet they don't think it's their responsibility. Shame on you. If you are an antinatalist, it is your duty to always use adequate protection to protect a possible baby from being born, and to also prevent harm to a woman, because antinatalism is about preventing harm. And even though a woman may want to be pregnant, pregnancy is harmful to a woman. It's common, it's biological, it's nature, but it's harmful. It's an unfair predicament. It is traumatic in a woman's life. It is uncomfortable, hormonally uncomfortable. It is very stressful for a woman to be pregnant, even if she wants to be pregnant. So pregnancy is harm. Carrying a child is harm. Delivering a child harms that child. So man up, especially you antinatalists. Use condoms every time you have sex, or get a vasectomy, and be bigger. Thank you for watching.